What challenges does Kentucky's running game present for you guys?
Right off the bat, it's one of the best rushing attacks in the country. We thought Ray Davis was one of the better running backs in the conference last year when he was at Vanderbilt, and he's continued that, over here at Kentucky. They have a big physical offensive line, great blocking, athletic tight ends. They present a real challenge for us, but by every measure that you can imagine, that they run the ball at a high clip, and they do it very, very well. It's kind of a perfect marriage with Ray Davis with their rushing attack. So it's a big challenge for us. We have to do a great job of, being in our gaps and getting off of blocks and tackling at a high level.
Casey.
What was the expectation for Elijah Herring coming into this season? How has he risen or exceeded that so far?
With the season still going on, I think there's still room for improvement. Obviously, the expectation was for him to play. We never know at what level. Injuries are part of the game, so you never know when your number is going to get called. Obviously, it probably was a little earlier than we expected. Elijah's a kid that's gotten better and better as the season has gone along. From a kid we talked about from last year that really never played stack linebacker, was an edge rusher in high school, to learning how to play inside linebacker. You see, flashes of a kid that's got a chance to be a very, very good linebacker. And then there's still some of those moments, where the inexperience starts to show. But, man, all in all, we're happy with him. Like I said, he plays physical. He's going to give you, effort-wise, the most that he has every snap. So I think the best is yet to come. But he has gotten better since the season has started.
Brent.
Coach, obviously they'll spread it some, but this is kind of an old school downhill attack. How does that change for your linebackers? Because there's so much sideline to sideline stuff. How does this plan change? How's the mentality have to change for linebackers when they're just kind of coming straight downhill?
Even with the spread, I liken it to our offense. They spread you out, but you still have to meet and defeat blocks. They're still going to have offensive linemen and fullbacks or tight end sniffer, that guys that are going to be blocking you. So you still have to meet and defeat blocks to be successful, and you have to tackle well. They do, they do it a little bit of a different style because they're a little bit more condensed and they're a little bit more downhill. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to recognize formations. We're going to have to tackle well. But the most important thing is we're going to have to get off blocks.
Rob.
Coach, your two freshmen, Jeremiah and Arion, how would you rate their development through the season? And did you anticipate that both those guys would be legitimate, guys in your rotation?
Kind of like the Elijah Herring question. When the guys are, here and, they actually show that they can play, where they can get on the travel squad, I think the expectation is to get them ready to play no matter how young they are. I've been, knock on wood, I've been one of my years where we lost 3 of our top 5 linebackers in the first game of the season, and, for multiple weeks. So you have to have those guys ready to play. If we bring them here, and I say that if we recruited them here, we think they could play at a high level. Obviously, the speed of the game, their level of maturity, and how they pick up the defense is always going to be a question. But those 2 guys have come here, eyes wide open, with open, book to learn as much as they can. And we've been thrilled with their development. And obviously, you're playing high-level SEC football. It's not going to be perfect. But once again, we can't fault the effort and their, ability to make plays. So, like I said, I think their best football obviously is ahead of them, but I think they're ready to play if they're called upon, and we put them in games in some critical situations in these last couple of weeks, and they've done a good job.
Brent.
Yeah, just kind of wrapping up the Alabama game. But what did Alabama do in the second half to run the football more effectively? Was it something they did? Was it something you guys didn't play as well in the second half as you did in the first half? What did you see different from their run game?
No, I think it was, you got to give them all the credit in the world. They came out at halftime, they made minor adjustments and, put us in some, and I'm not going to say difficult situations, but different situations. I think the quarterback run game picked up in the second half that they didn't show in the first half. and we didn't do a great job of fitting that. The first run that happened, that was us. We pressured and we didn't fit the run that first play of the second half. But all in all, outside of that first run, it was the quarterback in the second half that kind of got on the perimeter on us. Felt like we did a decent job on the running back, McClellan kid, and some of their other running backs. I know he got on the edge to score the touchdown in the second half, but that was more, once again, us getting off of blocks and being able to edge on the perimeter. So, to answer your question, I thought they did a good job, but I still think if we, had our eyes in the right spot and were able to fit the run the way we were supposed to, we would have given ourselves a better chance to stop those two runs.
Being in West.
Rodney talked after the Florida game about the guys up front, not just the defense in general, not being locked in the first half the way they were in the second half, and then some players have kind of talked about the same thing, not being as locked in the second half as they were in the first half. How disappointing was it to see that issue pop back up, and what needs to change going forward to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I thought we had a good halftime. We would always be truthful. We had guys that were, eyes, bugged out, like, man, we up, in Bryant-Denny Stadium, it wasn't like that. I thought we had a really good halftime. I thought the guys were locked in, and, we knew they were going to come out, with a little bit more fire than they had in the first half. I really feel from being on the sideline, that wasn't the case. Maybe some guys were reaching, maybe not playing outside the framework of the defense, and that's something we have to correct. I thought even after the first touchdown, we were able to regroup and do a better job. We let the quarterback get out on the perimeter on us a couple times, but all in all, I thought the focus was better than it had been on the road the last couple of times. We just have to be able to finish. There was a couple of passes that were thrown that we felt like we had a chance to go really affect in the second half that, could turn the game around. And, we talked about it. If we contain that quarterback a little bit better in the second half, it comes down in the fourth quarter and we're still, right there. We felt like we were still right there. It was a one-score game for most of it until, they scored that last touchdown. So I thought our kids were better. Just me personally, I know everybody might feel different. We just have to go out there and go execute at a high level and finish the game the way we started.
Last two, Wes and Patrick.
Right, is it, when you're playing defense on the road, I know sometimes people say it can be easier to communicate at times for defense than it would be when you're playing at home, but when things have slipped in those games, and Florida for a bit, Bama for a bit, they kind of snowballed. How does that, is that tougher about being on the road, about getting kind of some stops there and stopping that momentum?
It's adversity. You can't feel the crowd. You can't feel the energy in the stadium. Obviously, it's their home crowd. So if they do something positive, obviously the stadium's going to be a little different. When you're playing, really good defense on the road, you don't hear the fans. You don't feel that, and that's the challenge. If you're playing really good on defense, you kind of have a chance to take the crowd out of it, and you feel like you're in control when you're on the road, and that's the challenge. I thought we did that in parts, when we got a couple turnovers in the first half and then got a couple stops, and that's always the challenge, to go out there and go do it for 60 minutes. The communication I thought was good. Like I said, I think our eyes got away from us a couple times in the second half, and that was, where a couple of their big plays came from. But, I still thought we were better, obviously not good enough, to go win on the road in a big time, SEC game, but we have to be obviously a little bit better. And I'm not going to say a lot better. We have to be a little bit better, going into Lexington and going to go win on the road.
Ryan, you talked about your younger linebackers, and Elijah and the two freshmen, but for Aaron, obviously the expectations going into the season are going to be different. He's a veteran guy coming back. How do you think he's played this season, and what do you want to see from him the rest of the way?
I've always, I'm an Aaron Beasley fan. I feel like he's one of the better linebackers in the conference. And the biggest thing with him, and I tell him, is to just, empty the tank. I still think there's an even better football player out there than what he's shown. And like I said, I'll tell him I think he's one of the better linebackers in the conference. But there's still plays I still think he can go make to be game changing plays because he has that kind of ability. And that's always the challenge. He'll tell you we challenge him with every week to go out there and go be the difference, because he's got that kind of ability. We have several guys on our defense that have that kind of ability, and he's one of them. We just want to see him take it to another level and help us, obviously go win on the road in some of these hostile environments.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.